All right. So I am Khumbukani Nyirenda, and I work for Kamuzu University of Health Sciences. Previously, we were known as, or we are part of the University of Malawi. And a year ago, that's when we delinked from the University of Malawi, and now we are a standalone university. So this work that I'm going to present is as a result of the collaborative work that we have with, first of all, the Botanical Safety Consortium, the BSC, and also with Health and Environmental Sciences Institute, Health of the US. So with that backstop support, and also with the technical support that we received from these institutions, we conducted a study. And in this study, I will, in fact, I have to mention it from the outset that we have two studies which are supported by these institutions that I've mentioned. But in this presentation, I will concentrate on the botanical and the herbal, the herbal and the drug interactions study that we conducted. So I'll be presenting on behalf of Dr. Dallas Smith, who also contributed to this study and also the formulation of the presentation. So as a background, Malawi, and indeed most parts of the sub-Saharan Africa, we depend on traditional medicine for our health, for various health activities. And the studies, of course, there are some variations. Some put at 60% of the population, while others, they go as far as 80 to 85%. But basically, in most of the communities, if you go into Malawi, they really depend on the traditional medicine and also herbal products. And again, there was a paper that was published earlier on in 2017, which looked at the market potential of traditional medicine in Malawi. So using that data or that information, we came up with an indication to say that indeed this area is very important and very critical to investigate. And additionally, if you look at the Malawi health profile, previously, indeed, issues of high blood pressure and also issues of diabetes were not that important to low and middle income countries. But as of late, we have realized that indeed our communities, they also suffer from these diseases, which previously were regarded as the ones that are from the communities which are well-to-do communities. Therefore, the Malawi Standard Treatment Guidelines, which were developed in 2015, they incorporate issues of high blood pressure and also issues of diabetes in Malawi. Now, looking at the study that we conducted, we were looking at in fact, the first thing that I have to mention is that we wanted to collect baseline data that would inform future research and also intervention, which in the field of herb-drug interactions. So this is basically a baseline study or baseline data that we have collected, especially looking at the patients who are suffering from non-communicable diseases. Therefore, we developed some objectives which are threefold. In the first one, we wanted to gather some information from the patients with regard to adverse reactions, to say, do they, if they use the traditional medicines in combination or with or in combination with the drugs or the conventional drugs, are there any reported adverse effects that they have? And also we wanted to explore the prevalence of the use of both botanical and conventional medicines that are used by the patients that have these non-communicable diseases. Then we lastly wanted to classify the herbal medicines, and also the disease states for which they are used. So as I indicated to say that this data or this research was conducted at one of the referral hospitals in Malawi, that is Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital, which is in the southern region of Malawi. Now, it was a cross-sectional study, so we used mixed methods. In this case, we conducted with the qualitative and also quantitative data. And the survey was conducted last year between July and October. And we reached out to 302 patients who were over 18 years. And of course, we had our own inclusion and exclusion criteria for those patients. So one of the inclusion criteria was that the patient should be above 18 years, and also they should be at least taken one herbal medicine, and also they attained the clinics, that is the NCD clinics. And our study was also approved by the ethics committee. Therefore, we went ahead to collect that data, the qualitative data, and also the quantitative data in terms of the demographic information and also the clinical information. So we had to go into the hospital books where we extracted that information. Then we also went ahead to look at what sort of botanical products they use, or these patients use, for hypertension and also for diabetes. Now, this is a summary of the survey participants that we had, and the majority of them were females, as expected. I think in Malawi, we have most males. They tend to be very hesitant to go to the hospital, unlike their female counterparts. And we had the majority of our participants who were along those age ranges. Now, if we look at the number of patients who were taking the conventional medicines or conventional drugs, most of them were taking more than 3. And if you look at the data to the left-hand side, we find out that the majority of the patients were on the metformin. I think if you look at the area presentation by Prof. Ken, highlighted some of the interaction, the potential interaction of metformin. So looking at also the number of patients who were taking various botanical products, I think most of them, they would take a combination. It would not be only one product, but there would be some would take combination of those herbal products. But in terms of the numbers, we could see from the graph at the right hand side of the screen that the majority of them, they were taking ginger and garlic. Probably most of these would be for diabetes. Then we also had a considerable number that were taking moringa, and also the Kigeria africana, that's the sausage tree. I have highlighted those ones because these are the ones that at least we have looked at their potential, interactions with the conventional drugs that we are interested in. So we looked at the herb drug interactions and also the potential drug interactions, because these patients were taking the multiple drugs, and also the herb interactions. So all those are the things that we would like to investigate further. Now, going by the type of, the data that we generated, we found out that the majority of the participants taking an average of about 6. We would find about 6 drug herbal kind of intake. And as I indicated, to say that we would get this information about the moringa species, which were taken. Most of them would be powdered leaves, also, or the solvent extracts. And the sausage tree would also get, most of them indicated to say that they get the fruit powder or even the extracts that they get from the sausage tree. And of course, we had about 5 participants who were taking Arostrochi species. This is a very toxic kind of a plant, but nevertheless, we find that most of the participants, or a number of participants, would take that. And therefore, we also we had to look at these interactions, or the potential interactions with metformin, as I indicated earlier on. So I would just highlight those two, the moringa and also the sausage tree. But before I do that, we have to understand that these would be largely would affect particular organs. So the target tissues would be probably the pancreas, the liver, and also the kidney, and particularly also the intestine. But probably the emphasis more would be on the kidneys one, and depending on the classification of the drug that we are dealing with, there would be some kind of interaction that would exist. So we'd be looking at the absorption, for example, of glucose, or the secretion of insulin, for example, with the conventional drug. Now we are saying that would these plants or plant species interact with let's say the secretion or the absorption? These are the questions that we are trying to understand. But if we went into literature and looked at the moringa, for example, of course we have numerous studies which have showed some potential interaction with moringa with regard to gene expression of enzymes, and also the reduction of the breakdown of glucose, and also the insulin signaling potential. These would be these have been highlighted in the animal models, but there are very few clinical studies which have studied this kind of potential. So there's that kind of gap that is there to say, indeed, we have animal models or animal studies which have shown a potential interaction with moringa, interaction with moringa and the drugs, especially the metformin. But do we have any clinical evidence? That's the probably one of the questions that the next studies would try to address. Similarly, if we look at the sausage tree or Kigeria africana, of course, we have very little information that in terms of the clinical studies, but the toxicity studies, they are there, and we have some information that indeed they look at the toxicity, especially the aqueous and ethyl acetate extracts of the Kigeria africana that were administered especially for the study, or the rats which were included in this study. Now, in terms of our next steps for this project, we feel that we want to continue the analysis and also to identify the potential, the botanicals that have potential for the help drug interactions, and we would like to also review or continue performing the literature search in terms for us to elucidate the potential help drug interaction mechanisms. Then we also intend to publish our findings in the peer-reviewed paper, and this so that at least this baseline data should inform the next course of action in terms of research and also in terms of the intervention. For more information, our work, as I indicated earlier on, is sponsored by a Botanical Safety Consortium in collaboration with the Health and Environmental Sciences Institute, HES. And if you go to those websites, we would find more information or more details about this project. Finally, I would like to thank these institutions and also my colleague Dallas for putting up this project and also contributing to the execution of this project. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Very important work. We do have a few questions in the chat. How clinically relevant are drug-drug and herb-drug interactions in your opinion? In most of these cases, do you think it's more theoretical or clinically, they are indeed clinically relevant?
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that very good question. I would say they are clinically important. Of course, the tendency has been historically since these herbs have been used from time immemorial. Most people would think that indeed probably they are safe to use. Yes, they could be safe to use if probably they are to be used, let's say, singularly. So, but with the innovations and with also the advancement in science and technology, we have seen that we are in the clinical setting. We have introduced several products. Therefore, we don't have much information with regard to that potential interaction. Yes, if they were to be used alone, probably they could be safe. But what if we include other elements? And again, as I indicated earlier on, to say that even these herbs, they are not used alone. They are also used in combination. So such kind of use could potentially indeed cause a lot of problems, which we need to seek answers. Thank you.
Yes, and do you have any information on the genetic polymorphisms of transporters or drug metabolizing enzymes in this population that you are studying? Is that known?
No, I have to be honest. That one is not known at the moment. Probably that would be very interesting to study that kind of information.
Yes. Very good. Very good. David, did you?
Yeah. So I just wanted to make maybe a couple of comments because, and that's why I was talking about the theoretical basis of drug-drug interactions, typical drug-drug interactions. So I think you have then to look at risk-benefit ratio. So, you find that as you get older, so we have these young pharmacists who go to clinics, and then they will say, oh, there are all these drug-drug interactions in older patients. But at the end of the day, the risk of taking off one of these drugs is actually greater than maybe having a little bit of that drug-drug interactions. So I think that's why I was just asking that question. And then with this presentation, with this move towards plant-based foods, yeah, and in Africa, we've always been plant-based. Are we then going to be doing a lot of work and research to talk about, and how important is it to do that, to talk about these herb-drug interactions? I guess it's more a general question, because a lot of the plants that are here, like moringa, for instance, is a food. I think baobab, all of these other things are foods. So should we now be talking about food-drug interactions more than, in this case, herb-drug interactions?
Okay, all right. Probably, of course, sometimes there's a very thin line between what we call a food and a drug. Maybe it would also depend on how. Probably that's why other people they coined the word nutraceuticals, because there's that kind of thin line. Indeed, you are right to say that they are food products, but at times the way they have been administered, maybe they may not be administered as food products, probably as medicine. So indeed, there is a very thin line between those two issues.
Okay, very good. Thank you again, Khumbukani, for that presentation. And if you want to stop sharing, we can turn it over to our final speaker, Martins.